Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we'll learn about web crawler. We'll make this web crawler with the help of the Python. From the next section onwards, we have to learn about the JavaScript, its basic, and about the Burp Suite. So Burp Suite is an advanced tool that is going to be used while we just pen test some of the websites or web application. So we have to learn about that Burp Suite application in the next upcoming lectures. But for now, let me just make a simple web crawler in this lecture. So you may ask why we have to just make our own web crawler instead of just using that is the application that is available there. So answer here is that the most of the case those web applications or those pen testing application like Burp Suites are professionals. So that means they have some a disadvantage while talking about the small websites, but they are very advanced and they can have their price too. So they cannot be affordable by normal person, they are for professionals. So it's better to learn how to make your own web crawler, because we'll just test some basic websites, but using the Burp Suite we have to test some big websites, and that can be covered in the upcoming lecture. But for now, we'll just see how to make this web crawler, which we are going to cover in this lecture, with our simple programming language, that is Python. And you will see how easy it is to make the web crawler with the help of Python. So let's start from the basics before just jumping with the code. So first of all, when I just type here google.com, when I just hit enter, this you can see this web page just rendering over here. So this web page has in the form of the markup language that we normally call the HTML language. So what you see here is just a render, so a couple of images, but inside here you can see the source code containing the HTML language markup language code. So that means the computer will understand only that code, but not these images, not this layout, and not this navigation bar. So if you want to communicate through Python with the computer, you have to just work with this HTML parser. So we'll learn about that in the next lecture, but for now let's start from the basics. So first of all, we'll learn about the request, how to get the request, how to get the response from the Python, and basically to work with that we have to import some library first. So first of all, I'm going to open my PyCharm, that is this IDE, and next is to create the new Python file. I'll just say this is demo.py is my Python file. I'll just import this request package. It is request, and if you get any error that is saying that this is not the module, or basically no named module, you have to first import it, or basically you have to install it. So first of all, open your settings, go in your interpreter, add button over here, and type request. You'll get this request, install this package right here, apply here, and just press OK, and you'll get this request easily imported on your project. So next thing what I want to do is simple URL. So let's test this URL here, which is twitter.com. So let's do this. So we'll see the twitter.com over here, and now I have to make use of this try catch block. So if you wonder why try catch block, because if you just see that if you just open any website, you are going to get some code over here, which is HTML code, and if you get 200 status code, that means this is the page, or this is the available page. But if you get any error, that will just throw you an exception. That means you have to catch that exception. So we have to catch that exception before this code fails. So first of all, we have to get the response. So I'll just say get response is going to be called from this request. So this is the module that we have just imported, and I have to call this get method. So this get method is a very important method, and this is going to get us the URL and parameters, and basically this will just give us the response object. So here I'll just pass the URL. So instead of just passing the URL, I will do something like, let me say HTTP, which is obviously the HTTP here, the website URL, and next I want to concatenate this with our URL. So if you see this URL is twitter.com, so I'm just concatenating with this URL. So next thing I want to do is I want to print this response. So we have now response object. So the next thing is to just get this block, which is accept block, and here we have to catch that exception. But for now, let me just do something like, let me show you what this exception will be. So before that, let me just type this exception. So this exception will be request dot exception dot connection error. So this will be your exception. If this is the case, I'll just print that there is no website. So this will be message if there is any exception. So first of all, let me just run this and show you what is happening over here. So this is demo.py. I'm just running over here, and it will just check, and it is saying that there is a response 200. That means, okay, there is this website. So there is the presence of this website, that is twitter.com. So you can see how it is easy to see if there is a website or not from this request module. So it is pretty simple script, but we'll see now from the next lecture how to just get the subdomain, directories, and crawl the web page from our web crawler. For now, you can see if I just say something like, okay, let me type any gibberish, and if I say .com, and let me say something that is www.somegibberish.com, let me just run and show you. And it is saying there is no website because we just get to the exception. So if I just remove this exception, so for now let's see that if I just remove this exception, and now if I just print this again, so let me just run it, then you will see there is saying that there is exception called as request.exception.connection. So this was the same exception that we just handled before in the try catch block. If you just remember, we have this code in this except block that is saying request exception connection error. So this was the same exception that we just handled from this try catch block. So if there is no website, that is going to print there is no website, except it won't be something like this. So if you get any error like this, that means your code will just get failed and you will just get your application that is stopped. So instead of doing that, we want this to be cached over here if there is no website, and that will just print this. Instead, our application will work fine. It won't basically stop at that point. It will just run, showing us that there is no website. So you can see that if there is any website, let me say Facebook, then there will be, let me just print this, run demo, you will just get again the status code saying response 200. That means there is a website. So this response is the HTTP response. We'll see about this response code in upcoming lecture while we just pen test some of the applications using the JavaScript payload. But for now, just remember this is the way in the Python to get the URL, check for its response. If there is, then it will just get the response of 200 status code. If there is not, we'll just catch this exception. It will just print something, or you can simply pass over here. Instead of printing anything, you can simply do pass. So this is the way from this request method. So next thing we want to do is to catch every subdomain of this website. So that will be covered in the next lecture. See you in the next one.